Okay, so when you get your roll, the first thing you're going to want to do, I'm not sure if we sent it to you at 28 inches or just under, but you got to cut it to 14 inches or 13.5. And then once it's cut to proper size, you just kind of expand these as far as they go. Make sure these are loose. There's these two rollers. Just loosen them so you can slide these around. Just push these to each side. And just put the roller in one end and kind of slide them together. And then once it's kind of like that, just give it a good push together. And then kind of leave this loose for now, so you can still freely move it a little bit. And then we're going to feed the film through, and I'm going to show you how to feed the film and drop the powder into the machine. And then when you get this taped into place, and it's straight and good, just tighten these up so it doesn't move while it's printing. Okay, so once you get this taped and straightened out and these tightened down, you're gonna have these little guiders here on this bar, and all they do is kind of keep your paper straight. So just kind of slide it up to where it's just beside it on each side, and then you take your Allen key and you tighten them down right beside it. That way, as it's printing, it just sort of keeps it straight and keeps your finish roll nice and even flush here. So again, just make sure that it's just beside it, not too hard. Don't push on it where it's creasing the paper, just nice, and where it just kind of touches it. And then as soon as it just touches it, just sort of tighten that down into place. And now this doesn't spin with it, this just sort of, that's why it hits that. It's just supposed to guide it. So it might hit one or it might hit that side or whatever, just kind of set it down and just make sure your film can still flow through there. And that's it for that. Also make sure you have some painter's tape, so when you feed the film through for the first time or every time you just start it, you can tape this to your finish roll. So what you do is you start off by feeding your film through the front, and then you sort of slide it through the oven to the other side to where the roll is. Okay. And once it gets over here, you're going to want to tape it to the roll. Now after you've taped it to the roll, you kind of push down on the film, and at the bottom of this there's a sensor. So every time the film drops to that sensor, it senses it's printing, and it'll start to suck this up and start to shake more powder onto your film. So once you get this pressed, so just push down a little bit, and then you'll still have your film coming out here. Feed as much as you need from the machine to kind of get it down just to that sensor. And then all you do at that point is, once you have this set, then you put some powder in here on top of your film straight across. Just put enough in there to start it, and about that much, and just put it on top, and then fill this up about halfway here or so, even just under half here, and just make sure there's powder in here so that as it's going, it's allowing it to fall on top. And you also have a tray that collects all of your powder that kind of falls through to the bottom. So what you do is you'll pull that out and there'll be excess powder in here. So that's fallen. So all you do is sort of take it and you can kind of put it back into here, or if you're starting a new film, you can pour a little bit in there just to get that first bit started, and just make sure it kind of covers straight across the film with the powder. And then once that's done, you can just put that back. Make sure your lid's on for your powder. Just make sure this is set to down, so it'll suck this way. And there's a sensor, so as it's printing, and now all of a sudden, it's printing, and now it needs to start moving. So it'll hit the sensor, and then it'll start to suck it as it prints. Print, 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 and it's shaking all the powder onto it as well at the same time. And then it just comes through. Okay, so once your print is done and you want to feed the rest of it through, you're going to need an access rule, just a garbage piece of the film, at least the length and a little bit of the actual machine. So what you do is you take that access piece and you sort of just put it to the edge of your other film. So I have a magnet that I use, so I'll cut it and I'll hold it with a magnet there. So I'll let a bit feed through. After the print's done, I'll give myself a little bit of space so there'll be nothing here, and then I'll put the magnet down and kind of hold it there. Take the other piece of film, which is just kind of like a garbage piece that you can reuse over and over. And then you take your aluminum tape. Should put two pieces, maybe one on each side. I'm just going to do this as an example. You sort of set it down in place. Now with this kind of tape, with this kind of tape, you got to give it a little push down after you apply it. So just give it a little press down, a little extra press down. And then on each side, just for extra measure, you're going to want to take it and staple it on each side. So just take your stapler, go through. I usually put 2 on each side. I'll do the same with the other 2. And then what happens is the sensor is waiting for it to drop again, for the film to drop a little bit so it can start feeding it to the roll. So what you have to do here is just with your hand manually, just slide it through nice and slow, almost as if you're the printer, so that it allows it to just feed the rest of your printout. And you just keep feeding that through and through and through. And then it'll finally come out the other end. You just take the tape off, take your staples out, roll up your finished product, and then you can pull this all the way back after that's done. So you pull the staples off, pull the tape off, and pull that off. And then you clean this up, you throw that away, take the staples out. And now you can reuse this one for your next print. You can kind of keep this, roll it up, and sort of keep it for the next time you do that, for your next print. So just roll it up. And then the next time you do it again, just sort of let it out, and then tape it to it, and then feed it back through again for your next print.